On this episode of 5 Minute Friday, we are going to talk about what the heck 5 Minute Friday is, because this is the first episode. We are going to talk about the banks getting competitive with their rates again. We're going to talk about this being the fastest start to a year as far as mortgages go that we've seen in the last 15 years. And we're going to talk about a little video challenge we have going on for the month of March. So stay tuned. All right, thanks for joining into 5 Minute Friday. That is our new little intro clip that we just got made for Mortgage 360. I hope you liked it. Let's talk, first of all, what is 5 Minute Friday? So 5 Minute Friday is going to be a 5-minute video, 5 minutes or less every Friday, about what's going on in the real estate and the mortgage market in Calgary and perhaps in Canada, depending on what's going on in the news headlines. These videos are going to be raw. You just saw me, I couldn't say the word headlines properly. So I'm not going to edit that out. These are going to be raw, they're going to be uncut, and we are simply just going to have a conversation about what's going on in the market. Now, where this all stems from is we used to do this thing called 5 Bullet Friday. We did it solidly for 2 years. What ended up happening was, I'm a golfer, I golf every Friday afternoon. When the market got really busy last year, and I was also trying to be on the golf course by noon on Friday with a great group of business people that we play golf with. Basically, we ran out of time to be able to do the 5 Bullet Friday. There wasn't enough time left in the week, which sucks because I think that was actually one of the most important things that I did every week. So what we're doing now is we're going to replace it with a video that's going to be 5 minutes or less, and I think it's a cool little shift from doing a email to a email that will still come to your inbox, but it's going to have a link to YouTube where you can find the information that we normally talk about. So let's get into, now that we've talked about what 5 Minute Friday is, let's talk about what's going on in the market. 2018, fastest start that we have ever seen in my 15 years of being in the business. In comparison to 2017, where in February we did hardly any deals, this was the biggest February that we have seen. We closed a ton of mortgages, not only for clients that are purchasing, and I think a little bit of that's triggered by the new rule changes, but also for clients that are renewing. The Bank of Canada came out at the beginning of the year, said that 47% of mortgages are up for renewal in 2018. That is a massive amount, and we're seeing that. We're seeing that in our book. I'd say in our book of business, it's probably more like 35 to 40%, but we're seeing lots of renewals coming up. So we're putting out a video here this week on the process to renew. Check that out. And yeah, let's delve into the 2-3 of the other things that we were going to talk about. First of all, the new rule changes. Excuse me while I scratch my nose. New rule changes, effects on Calgary. Hasn't been a ton. I think we saw maybe 2 buyers that went from being qualified to buy a house to buying a townhouse instead. They obviously got in the market at the end of December. They're living in a house. But really the majority of people are qualifying under the new rules anyways, and that's largely in part due to the fact that in Calgary, incomes are generally pretty high compared to the price of houses. $96,000 still buys you $600,000 in property. I should say $96,000 in income, which is the average income for Calgary, still buys you about $600,000 in property with 20% down. So no big changes there. As far as banks getting competitive, let's talk about that. At the beginning of the week, I was talking to one of my staff. They were asking how we always knew when interest rates were going to go up and when they were going to go down. Didn't realize that we could look at the bond market, see what the bond rates were, and in turn be able to figure out exactly when the banks were going to move their rates. Now, what we did say at that point in time was, I said, typically in the fall, in the winter, we see banks kind of increase their margins. They have about 150 basis point spread between the bond rate and what they're selling the mortgages for. As soon as March hits, typically they start to get competitive and they lower that to around 130, 135. So what I said to Brendan and our team was, listen, I think that you're probably going to see interest rates drop by 15 basis points, even though the bond rates aren't going to indicate that that should be the case, but I just think they have some room to be competitive. Sure enough, that was Monday. By the end of the week on Thursday, pretty much every lender that we had came out with an unpublished special at 3.24%. So 5 years fixed, 3.24%. I'm still a big believer in variable, but that's just me. The last thing and that I quickly wanted to touch on is our challenge for the month of March. We are going to try to do a video a day. Maybe not a video a day. We're going to try to do 30 videos in 30 days. So there might be days where we do 2 videos or 3 videos, but we're going to try to do 30 videos in 30 days. Things like steps to renew, why a family with young children should be taking a variable rate instead of a fixed. And we're just going to go through and rock some really great informational videos that'll hopefully help you and our clients or anybody who's watching understand a little bit more about the mortgage industry. And hey, with 47% of mortgages coming up for renewal, I think it's timely to put that information out there. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Actually, we'll probably see you tomorrow because we're going to put out another video tomorrow. And yeah, let me know in the comments below what you think of our new intro video. Cheers.